was totally undermined, and now we are depending upon the import of fertilizers from abroad, and this is creating the problems for agriculture as a whole. The second aspect, we have, as all of us know, India is dependent on imports of pulses and oil seeds in a very big way. दाल और जो ऑयल सीड्स है, इसके ऊपर आज पूरा हमारा भरोसा आयात के ऊपर है। हम ये जानते हैं, हरित क्रांति के बाद, ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन के बाद गेहूं में हम आत्मनिर्भर हुए, धान में यानी चावल में हम आत्मनिर्भर हुए, दूध के और डेयरी प्रोडक्ट्स के अंदर आज हम जानते हैं इंडिया इज द लीडिंग प्रोड्यूसर इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ मिल्क, इवन मोर देन ऑल अदर कंट्रीज. All this we managed. We could very well have become self-sufficient in pulses and oil seeds also. But as a result of a conspiratorial policy, we are now dependent on foreign countries for the import of pulses and oil seeds. All of you must be knowing the classic example when we had to import dal from a country like Mozambique. बहुत बड़ा हादसा हुआ था उसको. Now, the real point is that pulses and oil seeds are very important for nutrition. In fact, the All India Kisan Sabha and many other farmers organizations have been demanding that as part of the public distribution system, राशन व्यवस्था के भाग के अंदर गेहूं और चावल के साथ दाल भी देना चाहिए, उसके साथ आज चीनी देना चाहिए, उसके साथ तेल देना चाहिए. This is the demand of the farmers' movement, that dal, oil, sugar and many other commodities should be given as part of the public distribution system in India. What will happen as a result of that? Apart from rice and wheat, this will lead to nutrition for the people, because dal is a very important aspect of proteins, all of us know. But this the government has continuously denied. And that is the point. As it is, we know, India's rank in the World Hunger Index in 2021 went down to number 101 out of 116 countries. We are at the bottom, India. Last year we were 94. Now we have slid down to 101. ये सब पूरे इसके अंदर हम देखते हैं. Apart from this, we also see that the third point that we should see is the entire direction of our agricultural situation, and that is, so far as the imports are concerned, ये नवोदारवादी नीतियां आने के बाद तुरंत संख्यात्मक निर्बंध जो थे इंपोर्ट्स के ऊपर, quantitative restrictions on imports, they were finished long back as soon as the neoliberal policy started. Many of you will be surprised to know, मोदी सरकार आने के बाद अभी 2 साल पहले पहली बार भारत के इतिहास में गेहूं के ऊपर जो इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी थी वो मोदी सरकार ने पूरी हटा दी और आज 0% पर इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी लाई गेहूं के ऊपर. It had never happened before. 0% import duty on wheat. What does that mean? Now, very recently, they have reduced import duty on cotton Just recently, the central government has done that. And all of us know the fiasco of wheat that is going on just now, where procurement of wheat is less than half of last time by the government. Farmers are not getting the price. The government should have increased it much earlier, considering the Russia, Ukraine, all these problems that are creating. Nothing has happened. And this fiasco, we are seeing कि ये पूरा इसके अंदर बहुत ही बड़ा ये बात हुआ है. The other aspect of self-reliance and agriculture, ये हमको देखना चाहिए. For the last few years, continuously in the neoliberal era, the entire gains of the green revolution, science or technology के तरफ, what we had, new qualities of seeds, fertilizers, insecticides, etc. What, as a result of the green revolution that made us self-sufficient in grain, all those gains have been nullified in the last 30 years of neoliberal policies. रिसर्च और डेवलपमेंट के ऊपर कोई निवेश आज सरकार नहीं दे रहा. एग्रीकल्चरल यूनिवर्सिटीज, विश्वविद्यालयों में जो रिसर्च होता था, नए बीज के बारे में, खाद के बारे में, ये सब अभी खत्म हुआ. एंड आवर एग्रीकल्चरल यूनिवर्सिटीज हैव बिकम प्ले फील्ड्स for the foreign and domestic corporates to gain their super profits. Whatever research is going on today in agricultural universities in India is being dovetailed to the needs of the corporate lobby, not for the benefit of the people. That is the other important thing that we are all seeing over here. And of course, the most serious attack of all was the 3 farm laws that were brought by the Modi government in June 2020 as ordinances, in September 2020 as laws. The historic farmers movement led by the Sanyukta Kisan Morcha, more than 500 organizations, lakhs of farmers, agricultural workers, the working class, women, youth, students from all religions, castes and communities came together and they led a huge movement for exactly 1 year and 15 days. 26 नवंबर 2020 से लेकर 11 दिसंबर 2021 तक लाखों किसानों ने, खेत मजदूरों ने, महिलाओं ने, छात्र और नौजवानों ने एक बहुत जबरदस्त मूवमेंट जो आप सभी ने देखा है. और उस मूवमेंट के चलते मोदी सरकार को ये तीनों कृषि कानून रद्द करने पड़े. एक बहुत ऐतिहासिक जीत हम सभी ने हासिल की, जो आज हमारे पूरे, आज जनवाद की जीत है, देश के पूरी जनता की वो जीत. लेकिन अगर ये कानून वापस नहीं लिए जाते, क्या होता था? What would have been the impact? पूरा MSP खत्म हो जाता था, मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस. पूरी गवर्नमेंट प्रोक्योरमेंट खत्म हो जाती थी, जो ऑलरेडी उन्होंने गेहूं के बारे में शुरू किया. 50% ऑलरेडी गेहूं का खरीद प्राइवेट कंपनीज ने किया है इस साल जो मैं बोल रहा था. और इसलिए अगर सरकारी खरीद बंद होती, नतीजा क्या है? पूरी सार्वजनिक वितरण व्यवस्था, हमारी राशन व्यवस्था, ये पूरा खत्म करने का इनका षड्यंत्र था. That was their conspiracy to end MSP, end government procurement, end the public distribution system. And how many people take advantage of the PDS? 81 crore people in India, in both urban and rural areas, are taking advantage of the public distribution system. They would all have gone to the dogs. Or whole agricultural sector, if these three farm laws had not been repealed, the entire agricultural sector would have gone into the hands of domestic and foreign corporates led by the Ambanis and the Adanis. So this would have been a very, very big assault on self-reliance of India had these farm laws not been repealed as a result of this historic struggle. So this is one very important point that we should realize. All my friends are aware, in the last 25 years, from 1995 up to 2020, 4 lakh farmers have been forced to commit suicide due to indebtedness. And whose figures are these? These are Government of India figures. Figures by the National Crime Records Bureau, which is directly under the Union Home Ministry. 25 सालों में 4 लाख से ज्यादा किसान कर्जबाजारी होने की वजह से उनको आत्महत्या करनी पड़ी है, और इनमें से 1 लाख से ज्यादा किसान इन्होंने आत्महत्या कब की है? मोदी सरकार सत्ता में आने के 8 साल के अंदर. In only the last 8 years, more than 1 lakh farmers have committed suicide. And it is the same government. I was talking about fork truck. I was talking about saying one thing and doing the opposite. It is the same government who had said in 2016, by 2022, this year, we are going to double farmers' incomes. फार्मर्स के उत्पन्न हम दुगुना करेंगे. ये तो बात छोड़िए, ये पिछले 8 साल में 1 लाख से ज्यादा किसानों ने आत्महत्या करने की उनके ऊपर नौबत आई. ये है सच्चाई जिसको हम ध्यान में रखना चाहिए. तो ये ऑल दिस पॉइंट्स इज द क्वेश्चन ओवर हियर. नाउ विथ दिस स्ट्रगल, ऑल्दो इट वाज हिस्टोरिक, it is not the end. It is the beginning of the struggle. And I will just very briefly, within 2 or 3 minutes, I will end. What are the issues today for increasing self-reliance of agriculture, increasing self-reliance of farmers, of agricultural workers, and of the people of India as a whole, जिसके ऊपर किसान आंदोलन आज भी लड़ रहा है. और ज्यादा हमको बहुत बड़ा संघर्ष करना पड़ेगा संयुक्त किसान मोर्चा के अंदर. इसके ऊपर पूरा इसके अंदर एक मत है. क्या सवाल है? नंबर 1, डॉक्टर MS स्वामीनाथन, चेयरमैन ऑफ द नेशनल कमीशन ऑन फार्मर्स, in 2006 he presented the report, 5 volumes, and the first recommendation was extremely good recommendations. The first recommendation was, if you want to stop farmers' suicides, if you want to control the agrarian crisis, the first thing that should be done, all farmers for all crops, they must get legal guarantee of minimum support price, which is 1.5 times the comprehensive cost of production. जो पूरा लागत खर्चा है किसानों को, जो उनका खर्चा होता है खेती के अंदर, उसका 1.5 गुना दाम MSP की हैसियत से हर किसान को, हर मुख्य उसके फसल को मिलना चाहिए. ये अगर होगा तो आज का कृषि संकट कुछ हद तक काबू में हम ला सकते हैं. अगर ये नहीं होगा तो द फार्मर्स कैन नेवर बी सेल्फ रिलायंट. दे विल गो डाउन either suicide or what is not very generally known, what happens to those who don't commit suicide? For clearing their debts, they have to sell their land and they have to join the ranks of landless agricultural workers. Lakhs of farmers have given up agriculture in the last 30 years and have joined the landless agricultural workers. ये है सच्चाई हमारे देश में। ये एक सवाल है। दूसरा सवाल है किसानों और खेत मजदूरों की पूरी कर्जा मुक्ति हो जाए, वन टाइम लोन वेवर फॉर ऑल फार्मर्स एंड एग्रीकल्चरल वर्कर्स। सरकार बोलती है 2014 में ये रखा था इन्होंने, मोदी साहब ने, कि हम कर्जा माफी दे देंगे सबको। मोदी साहब ने ये भी बोला था कि स्वामीनाथन कमीशन का ये जो रिकमेंडेशन है हम लागू करेंगे। बीजेपी के इलेक्शन मैनिफेस्टो में था 2014 में, लेकिन कुछ नहीं हुआ। टुडे व्हाट डू दे से? They say we have no money to give a loan waiver to all these farmers and agricultural workers. लेकिन पैसा कहां है? 11 लाख करोड़ रुपए पिछले 7 साल में इसी मोदी सरकार ने बड़े बड़े मुट्ठी भर कॉर्पोरेट्स के इन्होंने राइट ऑफ किए। एग्जैक्ट फिगर इज 10.72 lakh crores, nearly 11 lakh crores. They have written off the loans of all these big corporates who are their cronies, who help them in the elections, and that is how they can manage all the money and the media power. This is the point. Another one important thing regarding agricultural workers, landless, whom we consider are very much an integral part of the peasantry of India. खेतीहार मजदूर जिनके पास आज जमीन नहीं है, सिर्फ अपना जो श्रम शक्ति है वो बेचना पड़ता है, उनके लिए जो मनरेगा की योजना है, इस मनरेगा को आज विस्तार करना चाहिए। जो कानून में 100 दिन का काम लिखा है लेकिन मिलता तो बिल्कुल नहीं है। लेटेस्ट है, आज खेत मजदूरों को औसतन 45 दिन का काम मिलता है, ओनली 45 days इन अ ईयर। कानून में लिखा है 100 दिन। हमारी मांग है इसको दुगुना किया जाए, 200 दिन का काम गारंटी के साथ हमारे खेत मजदूरों को मिलना चाहिए। और उनको आज जो 200 सवा 200 रुपया हर दिन का मिलता है उसको दुगुना किया जाए, 400 साढ़े 400 रुपया कम से कम आज हर दिन का उनका वेतन मिलना चाहिए। यह है हमारी मांग। मजदूरों के लिए हमारी मांग है ये जो 4 लेबर कोड है जो पूरे आज मजदूर वर्ग को बड़े बड़े कॉर्पोरेट्स के गुलाम बनाएंगे, ये चारों लेबर कोड को रद्द कर देना चाहिए, जिस प्रकार से तीनों कृषि कानूनों को रद्द किया। आगे जाके हमारा और 2 मांगे हैं। एक बुनियादी मांग ये है कि आज भूमि सुधार पूरे देश में होना चाहिए, लैंड रिफॉर्म्स होने चाहिए। जो भूमिहीन है उनको आज जमीन का बंटवारा मुफ्त में मिलना चाहिए। खेतीहार मजदूर होंगे, गरीब किसान होंगे, इनको आज ये मिलना चाहिए। एंड दैट वाज द स्लोगन ऑफ द इंडिपेंडेंस स्ट्रगल, लैंड टू द टिलर। जोतने वालों की जमीन होनी चाहिए, लेकिन किसी ने किया नहीं। सिर्फ केरल, पश्चिम बंगाल, त्रिपुरा के वामपंथी सरकारों ने ये भूमि सुधार के कानून किए, उसको अमल में लाए। जम्मू कश्मीर में शेख अब्दुल्ला की सरकार ने भी उसको अमल में लाए। 3-4 राज्यों को छोड़कर और कहीं भी भूमि सुधार का बिल्कुल बात नहीं हुआ। और आज जमीन का केंद्रीकरण बहुत बड़े पैमाने पर बढ़ा है, सिंचाई का केंद्रीकरण बढ़ा है, हर चीज का ग्रामीण इलाके में बढ़ा। तो ये लैंड रिफॉर्म्स की बात हमको आगे लाना होगा। और आखिर जिसका मैंने जिक्र किया, पूरे देश को बेचने का ये जो षड्यंत्र आज चल रहा है, जिसके बारे में हमारे दूसरे वक्ता बाद में बोलेंगे पब्लिक सेक्टर के बारे में, नेशनल मॉनेटाइजेशन पाइपलाइन के बारे में, ये सब बात, इसको ये पूरा रोक लगाना चाहिए। ये है हमारा जो आगे का बहुत चंद सवालों का जो कार्यक्रम है। इसके लिए आगे के सवाल में हमको बहुत बड़ा संघर्ष पूरे देश में हमको लड़ना पड़ेगा। साथियों, आखिरी पॉइंट पर आता हूं, लेकिन वो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण। ये सब ठीक है, all these economic issues are very important, social issues are also very important, the attacks on the minorities, the attacks on Dalits, the attacks on Adivasis, attacks on women, this is an integral part of the policies of the rulers today. So the whole question of social oppression, economic exploitation and social oppression, this struggle has to go hand in hand with all of us. And apart from this, this is the National Conference of the All India People's Science Network. I'm very proud to be a part of this conference. Very proud. But the most important thing today, we believe in science, we believe in rationality, we believe in reason, and that is exactly what the communal forces, the casteist forces in our country, they are trying to dynamite the entire rule of science, the rule of reason, and that is what we have to raise our voices against. We have to go to the people. ये पूरा विज्ञान की बात, पूरी जो विवेक की बात, ये हमें आज पूरे देश के गांव-गांव में, पूरे देश के शहरों में, बस्ती में हमें बहुत बड़े पैमाने पर लेके जानी पड़ेगी। ये है हमारा काम, ऑल इंडिया पीपल साइंस नेटवर्क का काम है कि हम ये सब लेके जाएं। और हमने कुछ बातें भूलनी नहीं चाहिए। महात्मा गांधी जी की शहादत हमने भूलनी नहीं चाहिए आज के दिन। उसके कई साल बाद बहुत बड़े रैशनलिस्ट डॉक्टर नरेंद्र दाभोलकर की शहादत हमने भूलनी नहीं चाहिए। कॉमरेड गोविंद पानसरे, प्रोफेसर एम कलबुर्गी, गौरी लंकेश, फादर स्टैन स्वामी, रोहित वेमुला, मोहम्मद अखलाक, जुनैद, और इस किसान आंदोलन में 715 शहीद जो मारे गए, इनके अंदर लखीमपुर खीरी के 5 शहीद है जिनको रौंद दिया गया आज एक केंद्रीय मंत्री के गाड़ियों के नीचे। इन सब की शहादत आज हमने भूलनी नहीं चाहिए। और इसलिए हमारा जो आगे की मुहिम होगी, आवर कैंपेन फॉर द डिफेंस ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी, for the defense of secularism, for the defense of sovereignty, and for the defense of self-reliance must go forth in a much bigger, much aggressive way to the people in the days ahead. I'm sure that this All India Conference of the All India People Science Network will take many steps ahead to see that the founding principles of the Indian Constitution, of which Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar was one of the main architects, are defended and enlarged in the days ahead. Thank you very much. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। इनकलाब जिंदाबाद।
Hello. Friends, the basic belief also to get the very हॉल का नामकरण किया। वैसे हमने पूरे परिसर का डेवलपमेंट होगा, तो साइंस फोरम के भी थे और फोरम के थे, अभी भी नहीं आ रहा। This one is there. This one is there. Is it now audible? Okay. मैंने कहा at that time when we began the session, जब हमने इस सत्र का शुरुआत किया, तब ये जो हॉल के ऊपर जो बैनर लग जाना चाहिए था वो भी लगा नहीं था. तो this banner was still not up. So and as a result, I did not introduce and how we have named this particular hall. We have named this hall in the name of, this is like we have done the Parisar, as I was saying, the whole campus in the name of Dr. Amit Sen Gupta. This is in the name of Dr. Rupen Trivedi. Who is Dr. Rupen Trivedi? Many of you know, but many of you may not know. Dr. Rupen Trivedi was founder member of Delhi Science Forum. Dr. Rupen Trivedi was founder of the Department of Science and Technology. One of the first few people who were there in the first team, people who were recruited in the Department of Science and Technology. He was also very active creator of what we know as Science and Society program, of which also architect was Dr. Y. Naduma, Vice President, tried appropriating, and Dr. Y. Naduma had nothing to do with popular politics. He had all through been not only a rational person, but a person who propagated scientific network and propagated how science and society need to be integrated. Dr. Rupen Trivedi and Dr. Y. Naguman together started Science and Society program, and under that, the Science and Technology, the Rural Development, and separate scheme, and in which Dr. Raghunan has actively played a role in making that particular goal realized. Part of different parts of the country, we see several schemes under the Science and Society program today. So we hope that self-reliant in rural as well as in, and he was from the farm management, he was from Department of Atomic Energy, and his contribution is very well known to him. This is फिर भी साथियों मैं कोशिश करता रहूंगा कि मेरा माइक नीचे ना जाए. धन्यवाद पॉइंट आउट करने के लिए. और मैं अब डॉक्टर डी रघुनंदन रघु को इनवाइट करने वाला हूँ. रघु को मैंने उस समय परिचय नहीं किया था क्योंकि रघु शायद पोडियम पे नहीं थे उस समय, और रघु आ गए हैं. रघु ऑल इंडिया पीपल साइंस नेटवर्क के प्रेसिडेंट भी रहे हैं, और रघु जो है, जैसे मैंने कहा कि साइंस प्राइवेट स्कीम के तहत उन्होंने बहुत बड़ी भूमिका निभाई है. और मैं रघु जो है दिल्ली साइंस फोरम के साथ जुड़े हैं, और मैं रघु को इनवाइट करने वाला हूँ, परिचय देने वाला हूँ. 15 मिनट में ही अपन सभी साथी जैसी कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि अपनी बात को कहें. तो रघु, नाउ द फ्लोर इज योर्स. In the meanwhile, while Raghu is getting ready, they are also going to release a book which is at the end of the session.
धन्यवाद दिनेश. शुरू करने से पहले मैं 2 सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ. आप में से कितने लोग ऐसे हैं कि मैं अंग्रेजी में बोलूं तो आप समझ नहीं पाएंगे? हाथ उठाए. वाह. ओके, थैंक यू. And how many of you are there? If I speak in Hindi, you will not understand. Only one. So I think preponderance is I should combine, but I can manage mostly with English because it looks as if people will understand. So I get a gauge of the audience. Now I'm going to present this. Make this presentation on India, self-reliance, and technologies pertaining to what is called the 4th Industrial Revolution. Nothing very mysterious about this term, which will become clear as I explain this, but I think it is very important for us to understand. The reason is, आत्मनिर्भरता की जब हम बात करते हैं, I think very few people, including scientists and technologists and planners, explain what it will mean to the economy and to the people of India if we are not self-reliant. अगर हम आत्मनिर्भर ना हो तो भारत का क्या हाल होगा, हमारी जनता का क्या हाल होगा, वो समझाने वाले बहुत कम लोग हैं। मैं आज 15 मिनट में ये कोशिश करूंगा आपको समझाने के लिए कि हमारे भविष्य और फ्यूचर depends crucially on our being self-reliant, and this is what I'm going to explain. Next, please. So, in the beginning, ये तो मेरे ख्याल सभी जानते हैं यहाँ पे, आत्मनिर्भरता ही स्वतंत्रता के बाद भारत के औद्योगिक विकास और आर्थिक विकास की नीति थी। Self-reliance was the foundation of industrialization and of economic development of India. So much so, among the newly independent countries जो colonialism से निकले थे, भारत एकमात्र तो नहीं कहूँगा, पर कम देशों में से एक देश था जिसने इस रास्ते पे चला, औद्योगिक विकास को देखे विज्ञान और तकनीक के आधार पर। And you all know we were leading in atomic energy, we were leading in space technology, we were, yes, we were. शायद मिला है वहां से। हेलो हेलो, ठीक है, हाँ, ओके। सो वी ऑल नो दिस बिगिनिंग पार्ट ऑफ द स्टोरी where we had not only advanced capabilities in science and technology, we also had advanced industrial capability and advanced human capability through the IITs, Institute of Science, TIFR, etc., which were established, and you can see those in this picture. Next, please. So we also had the industrial policy resolution, science policy resolution, all that. Many people आजकल भी जो सत्ताधारी ताकते हैं, वो कहते हैं ये तो एक पुराने जमाने का, दिस इज सम नेहरूवियन सोशलिज्म पे आधारित आइडियाज है. I just want to clarify this has got nothing to do with socialist ideas. These ideas that India should set up an industrial base with commanding heights of the economy in the core sector with the public sector was advanced by a group of industrialists called the Bombay Plan before independence, and the leading industrialists, which included Dalmia and Birla and others, said private sector does not have the money, we don't have capital, we don't have the capability, so let the state set up these core sector industries. Private sector will restrict itself to consumer goods and light industries. तो ये कोई समाजवादी साजिश नहीं थी या नेहरू जी ने दबाव डाल के प्राइवेट सेक्टर को दबाया हो. ये प्राइवेट सेक्टर, निजी क्षेत्र ने नेहरू जी और हमारे प्लानिंग कमीशन के साथ मिलकर ये तय किया था कि इसी ढांचे पे हम आत्मनिर्भरता का रास्ता चलाएंगे. So in the early 1970s, India was more or less at the same level as most large developing countries in the world, including China and the countries in Southeast Asia. Next, please. During the later period, however, 70s to 80s, this capability stagnated. Public sector undertakings were not encouraged to upgrade, advance their technologies, adopt new technologies, with one or two exceptions. One of which was Central Electronics Limited, which had set up in the developing world the first boundaries for microchips and semiconductors, which got unfortunately destroyed in a fire. They were not given funds to set up the system again. And CEL is one of the companies recently privatized by Government of India. And you will be shocked to know that the buyer of Central Electronics Limited is a maker of furniture. Some furniture wala has bought Central Electronics Limited, and with that has gone the semiconductor dream which had started in the 1980s. Imagine उस dream को हम अगर आगे बढ़ाते, 40 years have gone now, where would have been in the semiconductor revolution of the world? वो अलग बात है. So, but the private sector during this entire period was content with protected markets. बाहर से कोई इंपोर्ट नहीं था. अपने देश के अंदर अंग के जो ग्राहक थे, कंज्यूमर थे, उपभोक्ता थे, जो उनको दिया गया वही देना था. और मैंने इसको दिखाने के लिए एक वेस्पा स्कूटर की तस्वीर डाली है. जो मेरे पीढ़ी के लोग हैं, हम लोग 80s में वेस्पा स्कूटर खरीदने के लिए तड़पते थे. 12-16 साल की वेटिंग लिस्ट होती थी. पैसे जमा करके आप 16 साल की इंतजार करते थे कि स्कूटर मिले. आपको पता था कि मुझे नहीं मिलना, ये मैं अपने पैदा होने वाले बेटे के लिए खरीदूं करके लोग वेस्पा स्कूटर खरीदते थे, क्योंकि ये प्रोटेक्टेड था. बाहर से कुछ आना नहीं, तो जो भी प्राइवेट सेक्टर देते थे आपको खरीदना था. उन्होंने इसी स्कूटर को 20-20 साल चलाया. कोई अपग्रेडिंग नहीं, कोई नवीनीकरण नहीं, कोई कुछ नहीं, तकनीक को आगे नहीं बढ़ाया, कुछ नहीं. इसी से प्राइवेट सेक्टर कुछ, और कई मायनों में प्राइवेट सेक्टर आज भी इसी रास्ते पे चल रहा है. इसी के लिए वो उदाहरण दिया था अगला. Many people from 1980s onwards, economists, industrialists, इसको भारत के लिए the lost decades कहते हैं, क्योंकि इस टाइम पे जापान का उदाहरण देख, जापान दूसरे विश्व महायुद्ध के बाद अपनी आर्थिक स्थिति को बढ़ाने के लिए औद्योगिकरण के रास्ते पे तेजी से उतरे. पर उन्होंने ये नहीं कहा अमेरिका के मल्टीनेशनल कॉरपोरेशन आओ जापान में आप फैक्ट्री लगाओ. उन्होंने कहा हम खुद सीखेंगे. So they started industries in many advanced sectors, in electronics, in optics. Sabyasachi was telling me yesterday, optics was such an advanced subject that even in the 80s, there was nobody hardly in China who was doing optics. Japan, 15 years they advanced, they did basic research in optics, basic research in materials, they innovated in electronics. That's why all the early models, Nikon camera, which I've shown here, the Sony transistor, these all came out of Japan. So Japan had embarked on this path which was purely self-reliant. अपने आप सीख के, अपने फैक्ट्री बना के, अपनी जानकारी पे आधारित वो आगे बढ़े. The same example was followed about 10 years later by Korea. अब आप लोग यहाँ बैठे हैं, घर में आपके पास रेफ्रिजरेटर होगा, एयर कंडीशनर होगा. आप ये बताइए, आपके पास जो फ्रिज है, अगर फ्रिज है घर में, और या आपके पास इलेक्ट्रॉनिक टीवी है, कौन से ब्रांड का है? आप में से कितने लोग के पास सैमसंग के टीवी है? हाथ उठाएं. सैमसंग के टीवी, एलजी के टीवी कितने लोगों के पास? ये देखिए. तो कोरियन टीवीज अब दुनिया भर में प्रचलित है. उन्होंने किसी से ये लिया नहीं है टेक्नोलॉजी, अपने आप इसका आविष्कार करके खुद सीख के अपने तकनीक को. भारत में बना हुआ टीवी या फ्रिज कितने लोगों के पास है? गया वो जमाना, गया जो गोदरेज या वो वीडियोकॉन एक जमाने में बनाया करता था, उसने बेच बाच के किसी मल्टीनेशनल कॉर्पोरेशन को बेच दिया. अब तुम चलाओ इसको. अब भारत में बना हुआ आपको नहीं मिलेगा ये सब. नाउ टुडे सैमसंग, ये जितने स्क्रीन है आपके मोबाइल पे या लैपटॉप पे, चाहे वो लैपटॉप का स्क्रीन हो, मोबाइल पे हो, 80% of screens are made by Samsung. They are the leading company in mobile, one of the leading companies. But आजकल चीन में बने हुए फोन्स भी हैं बहुत सारे, आपके पास होंगे ओप्पो वगैरह वगैरह के फोन, क्योंकि उन्होंने भी अब खुद सीख के मार्केट में वो उतरे हैं अपने ब्रांड्स को लेकर. तो ये जितने देश थे, उन्होंने 3 चीजें महत्वपूर्ण की थी। 4 से 6% अपने जीडीपी का हिस्सा इस काल में उन्होंने R&D पे खर्च किया, शिक्षा पे खर्च किया और स्वास्थ्य पे खर्च किया, ताकि जानकारी भी अपनी हो और उस जानकारी को उद्योग में तब्दील करने के लिए आपके पास वर्क फोर्स, जो मजदूरी चाहिए आपको, जो साइंटिस्ट चाहिए, दे वर वेल एजुकेटेड एंड हेल्थी। नन ऑफ दिस कंट्री सेड हम प्राइमरी स्कूल में छोड़ देंगे, फिर लोग अपने आप सीखें, कोई जुगाड़ करके करें। बाकायदा उनको पूरी शिक्षा दी, पूरी ट्रेनिंग दी, हायर एजुकेशन किया, रिसर्च किया, R&D पे खर्चा किया, तब इस मुकाम पे पहुंचे ये लोग। पर भारत इस पूरे डिकेड में जितना इन्होंने किया, ये हमने खो दिया, हमने एक भी कदम आगे नहीं दिया। और उसका नतीजा 1980s एंड 90s में जो हमने खोया, वो दर्शाता है आज हम कहाँ खड़े हैं और हम कमजोर क्यों हैं, वो उसको दिखाता है। नेक्स्ट प्लीज। हाँ, 1990s ऑनवर्ड्स जब उदारीकरण का जमाना निकला, उस टाइम पे सेल्फ रिलायंस वॉज कंसिडर्ड अनफैशनेबल। अरे ये सेल्फ रिलायंस क्या है, गड़े मुर्दे को आप जगा रहे हो, दिस इज आउटमोडेड कॉन्सेप्ट, व्हाई शुड यू रीइन्वेंट द व्हील? So the argument advanced. You got money, you buy the technology. You didn't realize no advanced country for love or for money will give you that technology. क्योंकि उनको पता है कि वो टेक्नोलॉजी ही उनको अर्थव्यवस्था पे कंट्रोल देता है। Semiconductors today are made by only 6 countries in the world. And the most advanced out of these 6 countries who make the smallest microchips, only 2 countries have that technology and they're never given it till date to anybody else. You set up factory in India, they won't give it to you. Self-reliance cannot be bought. Self-reliance has to be earned. पैसे देके आप self-reliance को नहीं खरीद सकते। So now India has announced it will start some cell phone manufacture. It will start semiconductor manufacture. अभी पिछले महीने आपने खबर देखी होगी, in Tamil Nadu, Foxconn, which is a Taiwanese company, the company which makes Apple iPhones, they have set up a factory in Tamil Nadu. They employ women from the surrounding areas to come there, and basically it's an assembly. Whenever India says manufacture, we basically mean assembly. All the parts come from Taiwan and China, and यहाँ पे उसकी सोल्डरिंग करके पेचकस चला के मेड इन इंडिया का ठापा लगा के उसको बाजार में उतारते। So that was happening in the Foxconn factory. The women there were being paid 10,000 to 14,000 rupees a month, which is less than minimum wage in Tamil Nadu. They were being put up in dormitories on the factory premises in such bad condition that they were forced to go on strike. And then Apple headquarters, Foxconn headquarters, they woke up, they came, they had to intervene and said, we will. So the same kind of sweatshops which you will get manufacturing t-shirts in Bangladesh or Cambodia, you are now getting in manufacturing iPhones in India. So in 2022, if we start manufacturing cell phones in India or semiconductor, इसी प्रकार से होगा, because now we are entering the industrial ladder, बीच में नहीं एंट्री मार रहे, हम ग्राउंड फ्लोर में हैं और पहली सीढ़ी पे हमने पैर रखा है। We are 40 years behind where they are. जब तक हम ये करते रहेंगे, those people would have advanced into the next. So next. Private sector meanwhile very happy with collaboration. इसके साथ कोलैबोरेशन, उसके साथ कोलैबोरेशन, हमने स्कूटर बना दिया, टीवी बना दिया, ये बना दिया, वो बना दिया, सबका कोलैबोरेशन किसी मल्टीनेशनल के साथ। आप गाड़ियां खूब बना रहे हैं, not a single Indian car has made it into the global market in any significant way. Even those, they have engines imported from abroad. Otherwise, your auto industry is dominated by your Hyundai, by Toyota, by now your latest entrant is Kia, motors from Korea, etc. It's all. And do you think, okay, They have set up factories here, and we learned those technologies so much कि कल को एक नया ऑटोमोबाइल मैन्युफैक्चरर आ जाए तो अपने आप वो एक एडवांस गाड़ी बना देगा हिंदुस्तान में. No, we have not learned to absorb that technology. The next model will still have to come from Korea. It cannot be developed on our own. That is really self-reliance, which we don't yet have. There is not a single major Indian product, one or two exceptions apart, in the global market, which we can say is an Indian product at the higher. Next. Yeah, yeah, just 2 minutes. So China went the other way. China went the other way in learning everything by itself. They started manufacturing on behalf of others, outsourced work. They did low-end manufacturing. Gradually, they started absorbing the technology, making their own products. Today, their cell phones are known throughout India. They are known worldwide. Their cars are known. White goods, refrigerators, television sets, Chinese goods are being sold under their own products and brand names. They are not just making something for Japan or USA, they are making their own products. But within the last 10 years, China has realized even this is not good enough. We are the second economy in the world, second largest economy, and in technological terms also, but we are still second. They have decided China wants to become global leader. And how can we become global leader? By acquiring full knowledge and control over 10 major technological sectors, which are known as the fourth industrial revolution technologies, which are going to dominate global economy for the next 2 to 3 decades. Last 2 decades have been dominated by your cell phones, laptops, computerization, automation. Next 4 decades are going to be dominated by artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, where everything will be driven through the internet. 5G, which is supposedly started in India, completely dominated by the Chinese and a couple of European countries. They want to be number one. Autonomous vehicles, UAVs, means like drones. हम तो छोटे छोटे ड्रोन की बात करते हैं जो पुलिस यूज करती है कि कहाँ दंगे हो रहे हैं कहाँ नहीं. टर्की में बने आर्म ड्रोन्स यूक्रेन को एक्सपोर्ट करके वो रूसी फौजियों के खिलाफ जो है वो इस्तेमाल हो रहे हैं. वी आर स्टिल इंपोर्टिंग इजरायली ड्रोन and our friend from DRDO will know where we stand with regard to drones here. Self-driving vehicles. आप जानते हो यूएस में गूगल वगैरह ने गाड़ियां बनाई हैं जो अपने आप चलाती हैं, उसमें ड्राइवर की जरूरत नहीं होती. China is already mastering this. Just last week I saw a video. A Chinese car in Norway is going there. It's run by electric vehicle. It's run on a battery. तो वहां पे बैटरी तो घर में चार्ज करना नहीं है. The system that the Chinese are introducing is you take it to a particular company, वहां पे ले जाओ, it will change the battery and replace it with a new charged battery. You drive 500 kilometers, come back, change to a new charged battery, and that is done by the video shows. This man comes with his car, he gets down and stands outside. The car by itself reverses into the garage, sits on top of the stand, it's lifted up, battery comes, old battery is removed, the car comes out, then the driver sits inside. All done automatically without a human being touching it. This is a Chinese technology, and they are hoping to introduce this all over Europe. Electric vehicles, advanced manufacturing. They are investing $500 billion. Please note $1 billion, not $1 billion, for R&D in these technologies, and they have said by 2035 they will try to be global leaders in these technologies in what is called the knowledge era. My last slide. Next, please. Where does India stand in this? China is spending 2.5% of its R&D, of its GDP on R&D, and their GDP is already 6 times that of India. So India से 12-15 गुना they are spending on R&D. India is spending 0.7% of its GDP on R&D. And the last 5 years have been stagnant. It has not changed one bit. And it has been on a decline, as we see. Out of which also state contribution is higher than that of private sector. Private sector is not really investing in any R&D क्योंकि उनको R&D तो Hyundai करता है या Toyota करता है और गाड़ियों को यहाँ ले आता है. तो हमारे तो उनको क्या जरूरत है यहाँ पे R&D करने की. Economic survey of 2021 said this is very bad. We should invest more in R&D. It gave a target कि 2% investment होना चाहिए R&D पे, and it said जो R&D होना चाहिए वो private sector जो थोड़ा बहुत इधर उधर जुगाड़ करता है वो नहीं, सही R&D होना चाहिए जो अभी तक नहीं. इकोनॉमिक सर्वे अगले साल 2022 R&D के बारे में चुप कुछ नहीं कहा. वित्त मंत्री ने, फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर in her budget speech noted the sunrise sectors. She mentioned AI, geospatial systems, pharma, green mobility. कि ये सब करना है, ऐसे कुछ नहीं दिए. नाम दे दिया R&D करना है, ये सेक्टर है वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, कर लो, आप कर लो. पर एक तरफ R&D ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं, उनके पैसे स्क्वीज कर दिए, यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं, उनके पैसे स्क्वीज कर दिए, तो कौन करेगा ये R&D? There's nobody there to do this R&D. So therefore, friends, the reason I'm saying all this is we need to be aware. India is on the verge of losing out on the fourth industrial revolution also, unless something very drastic happens to change the way we are. And it's not only changing economic policy, it is changing industrial policy, it is changing education policy. The way your education policy is going now, it's all commercialized education policy. Who is interested in training your engineers and scientists to do R&D? They train you enough to get a good job. बंदा सोचेगा मैं 1.5 लाख रुपए कमा रहा हूँ, आई एम हैप्पी, घर में बैठता हूँ, मैं मल्टीनेशनल कंपनी में काम कर रहा हूँ, R&D करता है, काम नहीं करता, who's bothered? So long as he earns some money and goes, what our entire education policy will be. All our R&D institutions are systematically being shut down one after the other. प्राइवेट सेक्टर तो वैसे ही नहीं कर रही, और अगर R&D ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस नहीं करेगा तो कौन करेगा? We will have to rethink our policy across sectors, otherwise we are doomed. Next please. So hopefully not, this is the end of my presentation. Hopefully this is not the end of our work. Thank you very much.
Friends, we're running behind time, and our next speaker is Comrade Ramlingam Alan Bowen, and his generation is there with us. And let me introduce Comrade Ramlingam Alan Bowen once again. He is the Dakshin Railway Employees Union General Secretary, and he is an active member of the National Working Group on Public Sector and Public Services that we have set up. And on behalf of Save Nation, Save Public Sector campaign, we are going to release a book also at the end of this particular session. And the speakers here, and along with our other friends here, like Sandeep Dixit ji, Sunilam ji, Ashok ji, we would be, along with other speakers, doing the promotion of this particular book. We will release this particular book. Let me invite Comrade Ramlingam forward. Comrades, good afternoon to you all, including the leadership on the dais. I am going to speak about the problems and solution of Indian Railways. You know, self-reliance depends also on building proper infrastructure, including railways, because logistics is a very important aspect in building the economy. The investment in Indian railways, it is said, if you invest 1 rupee in Indian railways, it will generate 5 rupees in the economy. So, in order to improve the economy, we need investment in Indian railways. The motto of Indian railways during British period itself was running of safe, fast train services at affordable cost. It was the principle adopted by the British people. Whether it will be possible now, it's a question. I will now tell you about the state of Indian railways. You know, Indian railways was the dominant mode of transport during 1950s. 84% of the goods traffic in the nation moved through railways. Now it is only 28%. And passenger segment, 79% of the passengers movement in the country was by rail. Now it is only 12%. Therefore, you will understand that the dominant mode of transport in the country is not railways, it has lost its place. And you know, you will be astonished to know the average speed of a goods train in Indian railways is only 25 kilometers per hour. Whereas in China, it is 200 to 300 kilometers per hour. In India, passenger services, express or whatever it is, average speed of passenger trains, express trains, is only 50 kilometers per hour. Whereas it has gone up to 400 kilometers in China. You know the traffic congestion in Indian railways. 55% of the traffic, Indian railways traffic, moves in 20% of network. That is from Chennai, Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, Howrah, Chennai. This diagonal, golden diagonal. In this 55, this constitutes only 20% of the total network. But 55% of the traffic moves in this route. You know, about 100 to 150% occupation is there in the track. So we need expansion of network, quadrupling, dedicated freight and passenger lines we need. You see, now the goods movement in this country is 1,162 million tons a year. But by 2030, it has been decided and studied that we need to move 6,885 million tons, more than 5 times. So you have to develop infrastructure to meet the future demand. More passengers will move, more freight has to be moved. Accordingly, the infrastructure has to be developed. Not only that,
Safety also is very important. I told you the motto, one of the motto is to run safe trains, fast trains at affordable cost. You know, in Indian Railways, 4,500 kilometers a year, the track becomes overaged. They have to be renewed. But we renew only about 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers. Thereby, there are about 11,000 kilometers of track overaged to be renewed. I'll cite only two examples. Another is signals. Every year, 200 signals become overaged, but we renew only 100. Controller and Auditor General of India, in his report, stated that to renew the existing assets, to keep the running of trains at safe pace, you need 1.14 lakh crores. But that is not invested. They say Rashtriya Samrakshana Kosh, 1 lakh 5 years, just not been sufficiently met. Why Indian Railway has to be the dominant mode of transport? Because of financial cost. You see, freight movement, goods movement, it is two rupees less than road per ton, per net 10 kilometer. Net 10 kilometer means 1 ton carried to 1 kilometer is net 10 kilometer. So rupees 2 per net 10 kilometer freight is less charge in less expenditure in rail movement. For passengers, it is rupees 1.6 less per passenger kilometer. One passenger traveling up to 1 kilometer is passenger kilometer. The energy consumption, freight traffic in railways consumes 75 to 80% less in railways. Passenger traffic 21% less in railways. Only 1/5 of the energy consumed by road is needed for railways. And another thing, you are all worried about environment. The environment effects are there, emission of CO2. Rail emits 28 gram per net 10 kilometer in freight, but road emits 64 grams. 28, 64. For passenger net kilometer, rail emits 17 grams, whereas road emits 84 grams. So more pollution. To avoid pollution in the country, we need rail movement. See the accident cost. For freight transport, road accident costs are 8 times more than road is 8 times more than rail. Passenger transport, road is 45 times higher accident cost. So social cost, see, suburban fare, they are kept at a very low level because to decongest the population in the urban areas, if it is less in cost, travel cost, they will go and live away from the urban areas so that urban problems are solved. So this is the position of Indian Railways. But is there a plan to develop Indian Railways? I say there is no dearth of plans. There is no dearth of plans. But this government abandoned the 12th 5-year plan, At the end of the UPA government, they brought one policy that there is National Transport Development Policy Committee recommended 35.30 lakh investment in railways in 20 years.
They wanted goods train speed should be increased from 25 kilometer to 50 kilometer, and freight share should be 50%, from 28% to 50%. So passengers, we must meet the demand of the passengers. But NT, that the National Transport Development Policy Committee recommendation was abandoned when the BJP came to power. New five-year plan was framed by after 2014 by the BJP government. That was also halfway done. In the year 2019, Finance Minister Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman announced 50 lakh crore investment in 12 years, but that was also abandoned. They announced in the budget 50 lakh crore investment, but in the next budget they say national infrastructure pipeline. That was announced, abandoned, and they announced national infrastructure pipeline. National infrastructure pipeline, they told, 111 lakh crore was to be invested in infrastructure. That was the plan of the government. Out of which, yes, out of and 111 lakh crores, 13 lakh crores, 13.69 lakh crore should be invested in railways, because private people are not forthcoming to invest in railways. They said invest 87%, but government did, say for example, they needed 10.5 lakh crores, they invested only 3.5 crores. Now, in the middle of it, now they have announced National Rail Plan. National Infrastructure Pipeline abandoned. Now they say National Rail Plan. That is from 2021 to 2051. Between 2021 and 2031, they say they will invest 38.75 lakh crores. So they are changing goals, not investing on railways, because of which railway infrastructure is starving for investment and the infrastructure has not developed. Here also, in this also they said 45% traffic, goods service, goods transport, national share should increase to 45%. Goods train average speed should increase 25 to 50 kilometers per speed. So the plan is, the object is going on repeated, but plan is changed every now and then, and no proper investment is done in railways. Now they say National Asset Monetization Plan. National Asset Monetization Plan seeks to mobilize through privatization. They say in the green field means investment in the new areas. Green field. Industrialists are not coming to invest. So what they want to do is they lease out existing ground field, that is existing rail network, railway stations, existing trains. They want to privatize and thereby earn money to invest in the infrastructure. This is their goal they have announced. But to what extent? 13.69 lakh crore they said, out of which railway will spend 1 lakh per in the 13.69 lakh crore, 1.52 lakh crore will be mobilized through privatization, they said. But in this stations development, you have seen Abhibin station nearby, Rani Kamalapati station. From 2014, they have been telling 400 stations they want to privatize. Nobody came. They said private wants no premium rent to be charged and platform ticket sales should be given to them. Nobody came. Only one station, this Bansal group in Habibganj, they have taken over this Habibganj station. No other station, recently Modi inaugurated that station. No other station has come up so far. But now they say 400 stations will be when a parliament question was raised, they said from the asset monetization, there is no certainty how much money will come. So when there is no certainty, how they say now out of 1,02,000 crores to be mobilized to monetization pipeline, they say 50%, that is 76,000 crores, will come from station development, but station privatization. But nobody comes, therefore, now they say 90 stations. How they came to 90 stations? Because it is 60% of sorry, not next, 400 stations. 400 stations, they are unable to do it, but now again they say 400 stations. And another trains they want to privatize in the monetization pipeline. 20,000 crores will be mobilized by privatization. They announced 150 stations. For 150 stations, nobody came. And one fellow gave mega engineering company. He says revenue sharing, who gives more revenue share will get the license. But now they say, if I earn 100 rupees, I will pay only 54 paisa. So that was abandoned. That train privatization, 151 trains abandoned. Tender was cancelled. Now they say 90 trains will be privatized, the monetization pipeline. 90 trains, how they came out about by 60% of 150 trains. That way, that is how they have come. So, what is the present question is this monetization pipeline, mobilization of resources through monetization of pipeline is not going to materialize. In such a situation, the infrastructure development of Indian railways is affected very badly, and railway will not be in a position to meet the future demand, run the trains. If it is privatized, it will not be affordable. If the safety is affected, fast train movement is affected. So there is no possibility of fast train services, safe train services at affordable rate. Now finally, they have announced national rail plan. The national rail plan, they say by 2031, all the goods trains will be privatized. For which private are ready to come. All the goods trains will be privatized. The railway will not be needed to acquire wagons. And all the all the passenger trains making profit with the AC chair car and AC three tire, which are the classes making profit. No other classes making profit. So all these trains will be privatized by 2031. Railway will run only profit making, loss making trains. So strategic trains, loss making trains. So railways in earnings will be totally affected. Railway will not be in a position to give concession to the people, and but it will be at the cost of infrastructure development. So the Indian railways will be totally affected. Infrastructure will be affected. To overcome this, only way is how China is investing that crores of rupees in railways. And that is why how Indian Railway also should invest. Private will not come to invest in Indian Railways. Therefore, government should invest. That is the only alternative. Thank you very much.
I invite now Dr. Sabyasachi Banerjee to take a presentation and request him that his here are also done. We cut out at least 15 minutes down to 5 minutes our program so that we can really complete well. And then in the workshop we are taking this very topic again, and I can tell you that we'll be able to that we have to have discussions also here. Talking about the Mahabharata and so please give time for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, please. Yeah, I will first begin
since it is the 75th year of our independence, a bit into the past, and that is what happened at the independence struggle. I'm not going to discuss, I'll just give it an album. Next slide. Now, this year is also the 125th birth anniversary of Subhash Chandra Bose. We are all familiar in his military uniform. But before he took these military uniforms, let us see what he was doing in his civilian uniforms. Next one, please. Now, this is a picture of Subhash Chandra Bose, and the other person is Rabindranath Tagore, and it is at the inauguration of what is called Mahajati Sadan, and that is to do with unity of India. In the INA also, he was working for the unity and independence of India. Next one. This is another picture which both I think Raghu and Dinesh had referred to, that this was in the National Planning Committee 1938, when Subhash Bose became the president of the Congress at the Haripura, and in collaboration with the famous physicist Meghnad Shah, the idea of a National Planning Committee emerged, mind you, well before independence. What science should do, and all the scientific talent, scientific statesmen were gathered together in it. And you can see here Subhash Bose in one of the meetings, and next to it, the person who's taking down the notes is Jawaharlal Nehru. This picture is important because we hear that Jawaharlal Nehru always tried to suppress Subhash Chandra Bose. Rather, here is the place where he was appointed the chairman of this committee by Subhash himself, and you can see him taking down notes. And very indistinct man at the back in a suit is none other than the famous Meghnad Shah, who was one of the architects. Next one. One of the very important things is that our national leaders express their ideas in books. 1933, Nehru's Whither India, Indian Struggle by Subhash Bose, and Discovery of India, all of you know. Next one. Whither India, as I said, it is an economic struggle, emancipation of the oppressed, economic struggle with hunger and want, its driving forces. This still is the driving force. All of us with AIPSN expresses that it still is our driving force. Next one. Community of scientists was very small. This was a Calcutta-based, which is a very important community, led by the teacher J.C. Bose, M.N. Saha. You can see J.C. Ghosh, S.N. Bose, J. Mukherjee, all took part in the nation building after 47. Next one. And Subhash Bose said in an interview to Meghnad Shah appeared in Science and Culture that we have to take a forced march as the Soviet Union in terms of industrialization, and this is what he said. Next one. Yes, Nehru and Tagore are known for upholding plurality of Indian culture. You can see them together. But let us see next one, what Tagore writes. Tagore about a poet. And he writes to Jawaharlal Nehru in a letter that Meghnad Shah, he heard about Meghnad Shah, about scientific planning in India, and I'm convinced about its importance. I is about the matter. Next one. And this is his secretary, Tagore secretary, writing to Jawaharlal Nehru, that the poet is rather captivated by Dr. Shah's idea of national planning. Planning was very important to it. It just cannot be dismissed. Next one. These are other institution builders. This is a process of building scientific research for self-reliance. This is J.C. Ghosh, C.V. Raman, and Homi Bhabha. Next one. Now, these were mainstream scientists within the establishment who worked, but they had scientific dissenters. And one of them is this man on the left-hand side, garlanded. That is Meghnad Shah, garlanded after he won the Lok Sabha elections in 1952. He became a Lok Sabha member himself, not a Rajya Sabha member, fighting the election. And he had clashes in the parliament with K.D. Malavya, Minister of Petroleum Science and Technology, who was his own student. There would be a clash between Shah and K.D. Malabia all the time in the parliament. So this is the dissenting mode that we always encourage in our politics. Next one, please. And of course, you know, the collaboration between Nehru and Maulana Vish. I will now straight away go carry on please. I'll skip a few slides. You know all these things, how these infrastructures were built, mainly up to, yes. I will just mention to you that three important experiences that we require to study. I will return to them in the workshop that comes. And that is one of the glass manufacturers of India. Why I'm saying this today, every gram of ophthalmic glass that we are wearing, every gram of it is imported. Gram, this is not a fashionable technology, but it's the important one, and we neglect it. Why? Because we don't believe in self-reliance, we can purchase it and so on. Second one, these two, there are two aborted technologies. Liquid crystal displays, RRI and DEL's collaboration, electronic grade silicon. This was all public sector, second one. And third one, IISc and Metro Chemical, this is the public-private collaboration. It is not that we never tried private public. We tried it, but it was aborted. Carry on, please, very quickly. Glass. Study was done by Venkat Shah himself. And he says to the scientist, whether a chemist, a physicist, an astronomer, a botanist, glass is indispensable. In modern times, glass as the basic material of optical devices has become an article of military strategy. We cannot compete now. Because when you're talking of optical technology, where is glass? Can I use it for optical technology? Can I build a polarizer, analyzer with all this? Impossible. You have to keep on technology. Importing unless you develop yourself and don't treat glass as a technology which does not deserve attention and does not deserve modern science. Okay, this here. And he says, go back again, that even as late as 1930s, the tariff board that said that just by cutting down tariffs, you cannot improve the technology. And it says, immediately for research and training services. This is what we have not done, even on an issue which is not fashionable like glass. Now, CGCRI, I don't know the expert was supposed to be here, very elementary thing. Before it's Shah's report, he said, where is glass? He said, glass manufacture and technology, bottle making and angle making, it's Shikohabad and Firozabad. Okay, that's all. Bottles and manuals. And it's only after independence, again, that CGCRI, Central Glass Research Institute, was set up. There are full of different types of glass, but still we are an importer. Okay. Pigmentation was achieved by having copper rather than selenium, which is more expensive. But still we are using. Electronic grade silicon, I know the people that are mentioned, Vasudev Murthy and Surya. We have the Bhadravati steel plant, is another big story in Karnataka. Now the steel produces a lot of slag, and the slag has a lot of silicon. Surya source, Vasudev Murthy is a chemist was, why not use that silicon to make silicon chips? So how to do that? Next one. That is, can I go back? No, it is not getting. Fine. No. I will just. And what was done? They went to buy hydrogen from petrochemicals. So hydrogen is a reducing agent. And once they went, and petrochemicals suggested, why don't we go into collaboration? And next one, when it's earlier one, please. That next one, please. So Satish Dhawan was the director of IIT, immediately said, collaboration allowed only if you have to manufacture. You cannot sell the technology and know how to sell it. And this is how we proceeded. Next one, please. Then they were about to complete embargo US moved there in Concord, and finally people started saying that something important is cheaper. Why invest in this? It was completely shelved, and we do not produce even a single gram of even photovoltaic silicon in the country. Everything has to be. And this was shared 30 years ago. Last one I would say, again, anyway, this is all history. I won't go into that. Just one more minute is left. Next one, please. Oh, go ahead, please. These are next one that I know of is the liquid crystal display. It was done by M. Madhusudana and S. Chandrasekhar. Madhusudana I met him 2 years ago, and exactly the nature of the technology is what we are having in this space. There's a glass on top, glass below, and some liquid crystals are in between, which are twisted or tilted by an electric field. Now the liquid crystals that I show are shown in blue, and there's a liquid medium inside. Till then, the knowledge was that the liquid has to be an ionic liquid. And as a result, the voltage to be applied across the glass has to be very high. So it was Madhusudana's idea to replace the ionic one by a non-ionic. He did it, he succeeded, and then they wanted to have a collaboration with the BL. BL achieved certain things, but it was not allowed to commercialize on the plea that BL is looking to defense. We should not go into anything else. So that technology is also forgotten. And now, yes, to end now, I won't go into all these. Let's just run through. Run through. Yeah. So now what happened? We have reached a stage where local R&D is not to be encouraged at all. You look into the science, technology, and innovation policy of 2020. It says that we have that multinationals are going to be the bulwark of what they are calling Atmanirbharta. And that is what I would end. What exactly Raghu had said, that self-reliance cannot be purchased. It has to be built. And I think that is the slogan that we have to reiterate again and go back to these kind of examples to learn one thing. It is not only to be purchased, it is a gradual, incremental process. And you take history of any technology that has matured, all of them have been gradual. Some of them took 50 years, some of them 60 years. You take even a traditional industry like railway engineering, the railway tracks, earlier on, we talk it so elementary, but one of the problems in early railway was of the track jumping. The vehicle won't move, it will just go. So everything is gradual, everything is incremental. Let us keep this in point and say that don't hurry. Every technology takes time to mature, and decide what you are going to do. Thank you very much. I'll stop here. Many of them will be revisited in the workshop that we have.
Thank you, Sabya. Let's move to the next speaker, and I really have any time to even comment on any of the major issues which are coming up. I invite comment Dr. Thomas Mango, General Secretary of All India Bank Officer Confederation, convener of People's First. Now you can hear me, yes.
Good afternoon, comrades. It's 2:10, exactly 2:22 I will start. I'm glad to be among these activists of the People's Science Movement, with which I have been associated also for 34 years. I have been Joint Secretary of AIPSN and Treasurer of BGVS. I was General Secretary of the Tamil Nadu Science Forum for 2 times. After some time, I switched over to the bank movement and I became the General Secretary there. Now, we as a team are concentrating on the public sector and public services. We have a People's Commission headed by Dr. Thomas Isaac, former Finance Minister Kerala. and Dr. E.A. Sharma, former Economic Affairs Secretary. We have a platform called People First, which is a network of trade unions and also civil society organizations. I was here in Bhopal in 1996 when the 7th All India People Science Congress took place, and I remember what Dr. UGC chairman, former UGC chairman, was talking on education. Yeah, Yashpal. So now I will just restrain myself to financing development. After independence, it was found that the development of the country with an aim for self-reliance was not possible without finance. So there was a Congress party resolution, subsequently discussions in the parliament, but there were three major studies: All India Rural Credit Survey, then a report of the Monopolies Commission by Dr. P.C. Malonobis, then a Planning Commission report by Dr. R.K. Hazarika. All this pointed out that unless the government and the public sector contribute for the development of self-reliance, let it be agriculture or industry, growth is not going to be possible. Now they are talking, as Sainath was telling yesterday, they are showing last 7 years achievement and 75 years achievement, forgetting the first 68 years. I would like to just list out what was attempted in the banking sector and insurance sector. The State Bank of India was formed in 1955, converting Imperial Bank of India into a nationalized bank. Insurance was nationalized in 1956. LIC was formed. Industrial Finance Department was started in RBI in 1957. A credit guarantee scheme was started in 1960. Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India was started in 1955. Now it has become a private bank. 1958, Refinance Corporation was set up. In 1964, Industrial Development Bank of India was started. National Industrial Credit Long-Term Operations Fund was started in RBI in 64. Unit Trust of India was started in 63. Housing Development Finance Corporation was started in 1977. So there were various efforts. This was followed. One of the major things was 1969, 19 July 1969. 14 banks were nationalized. 1980 again another 6 banks were nationalized. Because of the nationalization, actually the banking reached the common man. Before nationalization, only 2% of the credit at the total went to agriculture. But then 1982, NABARD was formed. Before that, Agriculture Corporation was started under the RBI itself in 1975. So there was focus given for development in agriculture, in industries, cottage, village, dark industries, infrastructure, power, steel, all this was financed by the banks and also LIC. When the 5-year plans came, it was LIC which was contributing around 1/3 of the plan, more than 30% of the fund for the finance commission. The 5-year plan was contributed out of the savings which were collected from the LIC. So this is how the financing took place, because of which various developments took place. I don't want to go into the details, but let it be the green revolution or the white revolution Comrade Ashok Dawale was talking about, or the blue revolution in fish. All this was possible because of the public sector bank. But today, what is happening? After 1991, he was also mentioning, everything changed. The policies changed, the orientation changed. Even public sector banks are not behaving as public sector banks now. Development financial institutions were killed. IDBI became a commercial bank. ICICI became a commercial bank. Unit Trust of India was converted into Axis Bank. Initially UTI Bank and later on Axis Bank. And all this HDFC was converted, again made into a bank. And in all these banks today, the majority shareholding is held by foreign institutions, not Indians. And they are catering to only a certain section of the society. And the banking sector has been used very consciously to create oligopolies. Adani's, Ambani's. Just I'll put you one example. Air India was sold for 18,000 crores to Tata. State Bank of India gave 10,000 crores at 4.5% interest. Can you get that? Adani and Ambani are the biggest borrowers in the country. Ambani's loan, Mukesh Ambani's loan today is 2,88,000 crores. Adani's is 1,30,000 crores. If they are declared NPA, the bank will collapse. So that is not possible. So what we are heading towards is a dangerous situation. Now LIC IPO has been already done. They are wanting to privatize LIC. Two banks are going to be privatized. Already IDBI is declared as a private bank. And this is going to affect the development of the country, especially the common man. The middle class is happy with what is happening, but they forget that education loan or farm loan or small industry loan is not going to be possible without the public sector. You will be given loans by the non-banking financial company. Adani has started a company called Adani Capital, which has tied up with State Bank of India for a co-lending. So everybody will get loan, but at a very high rate of interest. But only the rich will get cheap loans. That is dangerous for the development of this country. And instead of looking at these things, unfortunately, we are being diverted towards religions, temples. I was just going through a data published by IIT and the map of India. In India, there are 6,48,907 temples. In spite of that, we are looking for mosques which can be destroyed where there was some stone earlier, and the people's attention is diverted. So the science movement has a larger role to play in self-reliance, and this talk of Amrit Kal itself is a mythical thing, that glorious years will come. That is not going to come unless we work hard and bring change. Thank you very much.
We have hello, two important components of activities. Still not possible.
मेरा आवाज को माइक के बगैर भी पीछे जाना चाहिए था वैसे, हाँ साथियों, लेकिन माफ करना। ओके, अभी दो छोटी गतिविधियां अभी भी हैं। एक तो जो है डिस्कशंस हैं, दो डिस्कशंस हैं हमारे बीच में। एक है प्रदीप महापात्रा, जो कि 5 मिनट में मैं उनकी रिक्वेस्ट है, क्योंकि मैंने ऑर्गेनाइजर्स को प्रॉमिस किया है कि 2:30 लंच के लिए ये साथी यहाँ से जाएंगे, क्योंकि उन्होंने भी 3 बजे क्लोज करना है, तो हमारी एक जिम्मेवारी बनती है। तो प्रदीप 5 मिनट्स।
I will not take 5 minutes. Before that, I can finish. Our government is saying about the thing. The government will not do the business. So the PSUs to be privatized. So we are in the era of Make in India instead of Made in India. All the things about self-reliance have been told and discussed by Nandan and Shobhusati.